Oh, hello.
Mose Mordred. Hello.
What's going on?
Not too much, not too much. We had a fun day yesterday.
Yeah.
And tell people what we did.
Yeah, I have entered into many lotteries to go see Hamilton, the musical, like live with people, not just on Disney Plus, but
Hamilton, Ontario, the place.
No. And yeah, we won a lottery to go see Hamilton in San Jose. So we drove out there and we saw the show.
It was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Our seats were outrageous.
We were in the second row, like literally
Right in
the
the
second
middle.
row, in the center, like
Just like
right
they're
there.
right there.
Yep. Oh, Winnie, do you want to show people how handsome you look? Hold on. For people who are watching on video. Oh, he's a little cool guy with his WizardPhD hoodie. Then they don't make these anymore. Oh, Winnie.
Yeah, so don't tear it up or you'll never be able to wear it again.
He's like, well.
If he knew that, he would tear it up.
Yeah,
he does not want to be in clothing.
Yeah, he doesn't. He likes to be a naked puppy.
Maybe
I don't know. I imagine
colder.
most puppies like to be naked.
Buddy.
Winston. Sabotage. Wait. Careful. Wait, hold on. Welcome to Magical Theory, where I wrangle puppies.
Just one puppy. He's enough for many people to deal with.
Okay, this is the new position.
This is life now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we saw Hamilton.
It was awesome. It was super fun.
It was
we
a lot
were in
of fun.
San Jose.
Mm-hmm.
We had a super fun, just a little dinner with ourselves. It was a great day. A lot of driving. We drove back and forth, but
yeah,
no problem.
Winnie just licked my wand and it made me think of Winky.
Winky.
Little Winky. No, but yeah, it was good. It was my birthday on Tuesday. So it just so happened that the show was the same week of my birthday. I'm trying to think of what. I feel like there was something else I was like, oh yeah, I should talk about this on Magical Theory, but I can't remember what it is right now. So
okay.
If I like in the middle of the episode, I'm like, oh my gosh, let me tell you about, then you'll know.
But, that sounds good.
Yeah. Shall we get started?
Yeah. Wand's ready. Turn to page 117, The Dark Mark. Today's lesson is called Chaos at the Campsite. Long synopsis. The chapter begins with the walk back from the match to the tent. Everyone is excited and stays up talking a play-by-play until finally they go to bed. During the night, Mr. Weasley wakes everyone up urgently, and there are shouts outside. He organizes the kids to stay together and flee into the woods, as Mr. Weasley, Bill, Charlie, and Percy go to help the Ministry to deal with a crowd of Death Eaters who are torturing muggles and destroying the campsite. Ron, Harry, and Hermione come across Draco, who implies his parents might be two of the Death Eaters, while Harry realizes he does not have his wand. They find several other strange scenes, including entranced wizards lying to Veela, Winky the house elf scared and rambling, and Ludo Bagman alone and unaware. Finally, they hear a single incantation that creates a giant skull in the sky, as Ministry officials immediately apparate and stun the area. Mr. Crouch is especially unsettled when Winky is found at the scene, while Mr. Diggory conducts an uncoordinated interrogation. Winky was found to have a wand, Harry's wand, which casts the dark mark. Mr. Crouch tells Winky that she will be released from the Crouch family, and the scene disbands. Eventually, they make it back to the tent and fall back to sleep.
Little Winky! She's so little.
So much happening in this chapter compared to the last one.
Yeah, it was just like, I think chaos at the campsite is aptly named because it was just like this and that, and I actually went and watched the movie scene. It wasn't as intense as the chapter.
No, he gets knocked out.
And I was like, oh, I know I've seen that movie a million times. Winston has seen that movie a million times, but I was sad that he got knocked out because I was like, we didn't see anything.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. It's
Right,
just
right.
like Harry got knocked out, then it came back and it was like, oh, everything's burned to the ground. And I'm like,
Yep.
okay, wait, so nobody saw Harry Potter just like lying on the ground and decided to help him?
Or trampled him to death.
Yeah, or trampled him. That was the second
Which
thing.
is exactly
I
what
mean,
would
he
have
did.
happened.
He got knocked out because someone kicked him in the head, I think.
Yeah, he got
but...
kneed in the... Yeah, he'd be dead. He's dead.
That's
so
how you
movie
take
canon.
You take out
Harry's
the chosen
a ghost
one.
for the last 3.5 movies.
Yeah, so it wasn't as exciting, and also, I mean, I guess it's not a spoiler, but the major difference is that Barty Crouch Jr. is just out in the open. I guess in the movie we don't
Yes.
know who that is
No, we
specifically
don't.
because Harry's like, I don't
We've
know.
just seen him in the dream.
Oh,
And in
right,
the
right, right.
book
He
dream,
was in the
he's not
dream.
even in the dream.
Right. So it was
Yeah.
that same guy, and he's just like, he just cast it. He's just like, okay, let's go.
Yep.
It was just totally different. It was like, I don't know. Anyway, so it didn't fully capture all that seemed to happen in the. It was
there's
just
so much.
It was like a lot of back and forth, and that's what I think communicated the chaos. Is that you start off with like, oh, you know, the celebration part is kind of. What I do like about the movie is how Ron or Rupert Grint is just like all about Crumb, and he's just like
he's more than he's an artist.
Yeah. He's just like, oh gosh, such a dork. I did like that part of the movie, but yeah. So Harry's just like, you know, I'm imagining like, you know, when you get, you know, sometimes when you have bad dreams and you like wake up and you're just like, oh my gosh, like that's what happens, but like in real, like they're in real danger. And so
yeah, they are.
Yeah, Mr. Weasley's freaking out, and they go. I mean, the description of it too is just kind of like Bill, Charlie, and Percy are all ready to fight, and like it's just like, whoa, we just went from like what you just said at the last chapter of like as good as it gets, to bam.
The most startling piece, the piece that, and it's just a kind of an off comment or whatever, like a sentence or two, is that there are rowdy people just joining the marching Death Eaters.
Mm-hmm.
That there are people who just join right in. That's their instinct, right? It's the opposite type of an instinct.
Right.
Where it's like, oh, chaos? Hooray.
Yeah.
Let me blow up some tents.
Yes. What I kept thinking about is that because what we see throughout the chapter, like we get the reveals kind of slowly throughout the chapter, like little bits and pieces, because obviously Harry has no idea what is happening.
No.
And then the others kind of get some glimpses and are like, oh, we're piecing it together. Like, I know. Harry literally knows nothing. But also they had this confrontation with Draco Malfoy, who is, you know, what is the word that I'm looking for? I don't know. He's just like not pleasant to run into.
Piece of shit.
Yes, that is exactly it. Oh man, I didn't bring the illustrated version, but
he threatens Hermione.
The picture of Draco in that book is just like, oh, gross. It's definitely not Tom Felton.
Yeah.
So, anyway, one of my favorite quotes I wrote down was, Ron told Malfoy to do something that Harry knew he would never have dared to say in front of Mrs. Weasley. And I was like, oh, gosh. But yeah, so then it becomes, there were flashbacks to Chamber of Secrets. Because we're talking about muggles.
Yep.
We're talking about muggle-born. And it's immediately a threat to Hermione, where, I mean, that's the whole interaction right there. Mm-hmm. And they become increasingly more stressed out about it the longer it goes on, and the closer it seems that explosions and things are coming near them and everything. And I was just like, oh yeah, Chamber of Secrets. Because I was trying to look up things specifically about the Dark Mark, and there were some theories about like why that design. I mean, I know that we have, you know, it's the mark of you know who. But and we also know that's Tom Riddle, like it's the same person. And thinking about the Chamber of Secrets being Parseltongue, or even just representing the entire Chamber of Secrets, where there's like the imagery of like opening it it's like a snake coming out of
Yep.
the mouth. And so yeah, they're just people talking about the actual symbolism of the mark itself and like the connections back to Chamber of Secrets, which I don't think is surprising. It's the same crazy person that is just like, oh hey, I hate people, let me bring forth my supremacy and I worship snakes or whatever. I don't know. That's not how Voldemort talks, but you know what I mean. Like it's just a little it's consistent. But yeah, very, very stressful for our friends.
So I, as you can imagine, want to talk about the scene after the Dark Mark is cast. Because I think it's really fascinating on the reread to pay attention to like small things.
Yeah, I think we probably are thinking
Want to talk about
same
the
thing.
same stuff? What do you have?
Well, I remember before, okay, so, catching up. Lynette has only read this section of the book once in her life. So I have had discussions with Jeff of being like, oh, wait, what about this? And so we've previously talked about Crouch and his reaction. I mean, this actually happens in the other books as well, where something happens. It seems that in the context of what's going on, he's taken aback because it's his house elf. That's what it seems like, and that people are just like, oh, what's going on? I was paying attention to Winky specifically because the language around the first time they run into Winky, she's struggling to run. And it literally says as if someone invisible is holding her back or something like that, or she's struggling with someone who's a person who's invisible,
which she is.
Spoilers. And then there's this. I was somewhat frustrated because I know. I mean, it's because I know like the ending or I know like the connection or whatever. But when Amos is just like, "Did you see anyone?" And Winky's like, I is seeing no one, sir. No one. And I'm just like, why did you choose that phrasing? But, obviously there's intentionality.
I noted that as well. But even more than that is Mr. Crouch, because I think he's yes, Winky, but he is the key to making sure that the mystery of the story is consistent and coherent here because of the way he behaves. So one thing I note is that he does not interrogate Winky because he knows that the magic of the house elf relationship, she will be honest with him. So he does this thing that's very uncrouch-like, which is as soon as Winky is there, he like freezes, right? But I don't think he freezes in the sense of like being shocked. I think he's extremely calculated and he's like, I cannot participate in this in front of other people. Yeah. And I'm going to flex my authority to get Winky out of here.
Yes.
Because I'm breaking all sorts of laws.
Yeah.
And I have a deep secret.
Yeah. And so, when did this happen last? Where it's like we will be, in hindsight, like we are able to reread this and be like, oh, like it happens over and over in the series where we have moments that seem like something.
That's what mysteries are
and
like, I think.
Is good actually some. And what's nice about Crouch is like we literally don't know anything about him. We don't know, is this in character? Is this out of character? Is there something off about it? Like all we know is that he's the minister or no, he's not the minister. Sorry. Fudge is the minister. Right?
Yeah, Fudge is the minister.
But he's like
magical law
he's
enforcement.
he's like in the ministry, and it's just like, oh, okay, this is.
I think he's the head.
This is
He's the head of magical law enforcement.
Yeah, like why would we look at that and be like, oh, okay? Well, because it is also puzzling because it's like, well, some of this still doesn't add up. Of like, why does Winky have the wand? Why was Winky stunned?
There's the line I think from Ludo who's like, you didn't even show up for the game, to Mr. Crouch.
Yeah,
which is really, that's such a right. There are like certain things that stand out where like how they get by everyone. And like that people don't question Mr. Crouch when he's just like, oh, I had things to do, which makes no sense at all, right? It doesn't make any sense. There's no
Yeah.
circumstance under which that's an acceptable response.
Yeah.
Not that anyone deserves an answer from him, but like they should at least take note of it and be like, that is the weirdest thing, that like he didn't show up to this after helping to put it on, right? And have all this responsibility and have, seats and your house elf is there and all this. It's just it's a great scene, because to your point, it's one of those ones where when you finish the book and if you go back to this scene, this part of this chapter, it all comes together. Like Mr. Crouch walks away from the group and is at the ground level, and what is he doing there, and why is he ghost white when he gets back?
Yep.
Like, all of this. Yeah, it's really interesting. And then like I note that Hermione is used a little bit as a flag, a clue flag, even though she doesn't know it, by having so much attention on house elves and Winky.
Yep.
Because what is also disproportionate is this idea that like, I think everyone, so Mr. Diggory is just the worst. What a failed effort at getting important information.
It's very clear of like Hermione's kind of like alluding to it when they walk away, of like the position of house elves in society and the disdain that people have toward them. I mean, even as Crouch is talking and is like, well, talking about being not disobeying your master, and like those things are in there to remind us like this is how house elves are looked at. And Hermione's perspective is quite rare, because even she says something. I wrote it to Ron. She says something to Ron that I wrote down. It's people like you, Ron, who prop up rotten and unjust. She's just like ranting and going on and being like, no one's really doing anything about it. And even Mr. Weasley's like, I agree with you, but now is not the time to talk about the rights of house elves. But we see
he's right. But I think it's worth noting that like, even for somebody who doesn't know a ton about house elves, which would be Hermione, there's even something even more off about what they're witnessing. Like, why would Mr. Crouch get rid of Winky for this? All intents and purposes, she found the wand because Mr. Weasley has a straight head on all of this, right? Because he's like, okay, even though she had this wand and it has the spell, she doesn't know the spell. None of us know the spell to cast the thing. It's not public knowledge. So she didn't do it. Like, there's no reason to think that this house elf did it. But Mr. Crouch publicly says he's going to get rid of her after years. And like, what? That only makes sense if there's something else going on.
Yeah, but like, also, why would you question that? Why would you like?
That's why I think Hermione is important, because she's doing that, and I think she's drawing our attention to like, wait, what? What do you mean you're gonna get rid of her? She was scared. She didn't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Going back to Chamber of Secrets, like it's a similar thing with Dobby. There is this mystery that happens with Dobby of like, well, why is he doing this? Like, what is happening here? And not being able to like tell Harry like what's really going on. So there's a similar suspicious behavior happening in parallel with what happened with Dobby. So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that Crouch is not suspicious at all, but it's like it's subdued by a lot of these other contextual factors. He's like, has some sort of authority, is like, who cares about the house elf specifically? And they just kind of like let it go, and it's like, okay, well, I don't know. They must have disapparated, and there's no way to find out, because it wasn't even their wand, it was Harry's wand.
Yep.
So, yeah. Something else I wrote down was just a little tiny thing that Hermione was aware of the Beauxbaton school because of reading an appraisal of magical education in Europe.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to know is, what do you think those school rankings are like?
That was this is a little fan fiction. That was our second choice for the title of this podcast. But no, sorry, what was your question?
What do you think the school rankings are like? Hogwarts.
It depends on who writes the
Bulbaton
ranking.
and Durmstrang and yeah.
We've collected all these objective facts, and then now we get to assign value to those objective
X number
facts.
of students
our school is the best.
Got outstandings in their OWLs.
They don't have probably been taken.
I wonder how many. Oh, no. Because the minister. Do you think that there are rules about who can be the minister? Like, do you need to be local?
You have to be over 35.
No, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like the president, or you have to be born.
I don't know. I don't know. Hermione becomes the minister for magic potentially.
That's true, but she is like local to the area.
Yeah.
Because then I was thinking like, oh, could you brag about how many ministers, or maybe not like British Minister of Magic, but like a specific like governmental. Where do our students? Where do they get jobs after?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's all. Well, I don't know if it would be mathematical. It'd probably be something weird. Like I don't know how you would. Tea leaves.
No, it's probably like in the 5th book where we see the Black family tree. It's like that, and like where do people wind up?
And it's all in a magazine.
Oh, look, Professor Dumbledore. Yeah.
Speaking of, I also wonder what the other students. Oh, I guess we'll see. We'll see more interactions. We can talk about it then. I was gonna say because like the walking away, and saying just like, oh, Hogwarts, like they're from Hogwarts. I wondered like in that moment of like, what is the like stereotypes like across these 3 schools and like how they think about each other, and or just like, oh, like for us, like people are just like, oh, those like Americans like all the stereotypes or ways of thinking about. Of course it fits in, like that's what you do.
It's a good book title. It's very like it's so it's like really esoteric and like boring.
Yeah,
but of course Hermione would read that. Like of course she would read that particular book, right?
Well, she has like a lot.
Like, I wonder what Hogwarts is like Hogwarts of history. What comes after? Oh, I guess I'll look at like other schools, compare it to other schools.
Well, I think when I was looking for this, I couldn't find much information about it, but apparently
it's probably the only reference.
There's another reference when she's trying to figure out what books to take when they're going on the hunt.
In 7? Nice.
And it doesn't say whether or not she takes it with her, but it's not likely that she would take. It's like, oh wait, let's look.
Yeah.
Let's look.
Yeah, I'm thinking not.
Yeah. Stan Shunpike mentioned again.
Yeah.
Old Stan. I'm gonna be the youngest minister in history. Sure,
That's
Stan.
such a weird scene.
It is such a weird scene also because it's like
there's all this chaos going on.
Yeah, and then you just have like
what are the Veela even doing? Right.
Yeah. What
they're probably scared. Maybe it's like it could be like biological or something where it's like when they're in fear, it's like part of their like reaction is to put out a lot of whatever magic they put out.
Yeah. I don't know. It's unfortunate for those 3 though, because they're just like mesmerized. Ron. Well, Hermione was there. At least Hermione was there to pull them away and be like, okay, let's keep going.
Harry wasn't affected in the moment.
I don't know if Harry was close enough. I don't know. That's what I was imagining, is that Ron is just like, I don't know. Ron is just there and he's just like, oh,
it's such an intense chapter. Man, it's so intense. Nothing drives it home. Again, I'll go back to like this thing of like, this is happening. And when I first read it, I'm like, well, it's not that many. Just pull your wands out and blast them. Like you'll easily defeat them. It says there's like not a lot. There's like 8 or 10 or something.
Yeah.
It's not even that many. So there's tons of wizards. Like just blast them. And then you get right after that. And it's such a punch in the gut of like, oh, a bunch of like, they're like running up to join them. And I'm like.
Yeah. But also like there has been peace for some time. It's not like people are people are it's not like people are expecting this to be like a scene of like, wait, what is going on? I imagine shock would probably be the primary reaction of like, what is
shock
happening?
is different than joining somebody.
Yeah, but it wasn't everyone joining them.
But enough people. Like, just the fact that there are just people who spontaneously, without a mask, just walk up and they're like, yeah, this is the side I'm choosing. It's very frustrating to me.
Yeah. I mean, I think that also speaks to like, I mean, there are the people that are the leaders of the dark people, and then there's people that also just join in. Like we see this also in terms of like catastrophe or things that happen, you know, in our world. And it's I'm not saying that it's not frustrating.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that it's like, what is the instinct to do something like that?
Yeah.
It's very dark. It's worse in some sense than the Death Eaters themselves, because there's no mask. They're not even trying to hide it. It's just spontaneous. That's who they are at a core level.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really bad.
I don't know if that makes me, because I've already said many times to you, I have a very pessimistic view on humans. So like, I don't know that I'm like reacting in the same way.
Okay.
But yeah, it is not good.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that I have.
That's all I have too.
All right.
Until next time.
And oh wait, I don't have it. I gotta get better at this because I'm gonna leave this all
two
in
screens, so it's hard.
It's
you
not.
can't
It's
double
not.
screen.
Until next time.
Wand's
ready.